afternoon, everyone. I'm going to call to order this meeting of the Health, Environment, and Community Engagement Committee. This is our regularly scheduled meeting, May 2nd. Welcome. I'm Chair of the committee, Councilmember Cam Gordon. I'm joined by Councilmembers Andrew Johnson, Lisa Bender, and Jacob Fry, and Alondra Cano.
I'm going to send Corey an email to let him know I'm.
So we have 3 items on our agenda. Actually, there's a 4th item, which is a postponement. We're postponing our blueprint for equitable engagement one more cycle. Our first item is a public hearing, and we have a consent item and a discussion item. I think I'll just go ahead with the public hearing item, as it's item number 1 on the agenda. And I believe we're going to get a brief presentation and a report from James Doughton, our supervisor for environmental services. This is a public hearing for and a consideration of an ordinance amending Title III, Chapter 59 of our code relating to air pollution and environmental protection, construction activities, amending the provisions related to after-hours work permits. Good afternoon. Welcome.
Good afternoon, council members and chair and the public. I appreciate the chance to present this information to you here today. As you mentioned, we're going to be discussing the after-hours work permit, and we've been working very closely, and I appreciate the help of Councilmember Johnson and Councilmember Palmisano's office in negotiating a lot of these terms. Want to start out, due to everybody knows the rapid increase in the number of building construction permits that has occurred over the past few years, and as we come out of the recession, one of the things that comes with it is a lot of additional work. It's seen in the RCA, we've seen a dramatic increase in the number of permits over the last few years. One of the things that does is our staff has not grown commensurate with the amount of permits that are being issued, and it's been overwhelming to our staff. In particular, about 75 to 80% of the Saturday work permits that we're getting on Friday afternoon, generally around 2 o'clock. And as it doesn't give us a chance to properly vet the activities to make sure that there isn't conflicts, other activities, we're not doing our job in properly serving the public. I don't believe being able to take the time and do this and notify find out from the council members if there are any issues, any problems, notify the police precincts of the activities, etc. So it's been overwhelming to our staff. So one of the key things that we have in here is requiring a 36-hour notification prior to the work. We believe it just said to get the permit in advance of the proposed activity. That's rather vague. And Ken Mead, right at 4:55, dropping a permit into the fax machine at 5 o'clock, expecting a permit. That's an untenable situation, we believe, particularly with the rapid increase in the amount of permits. So what we're requesting is 36 hours prior to the activity. That gives us a day to properly vet the materials, prepare the permit, check to see if there's any objections, and issue the permit. So to incentivize this, we are proposing a 100% increase in the fee in order to properly incentivize people to get the permit in. We also have the discretion of waiving that fee if it's in the best public interest to get the work done, and as well as the 24-hour notification. It just before had said to notify the activity or notify the neighbors in advance of the activity. We were saying at least 24 hours ahead of time we have to provide notice to the neighbors trying to resolve issues so that they can plan their activities. Again, we have the discretion of reducing that activity, and one of the concerns is with our franchise partners, like such as Centerpoint with Al in the corner here, or Excel, is that a lot of their activities might be going on and need to be extended, and it's the best interest to get this work done rather than tying up a public street for 2 days or working in the right-of-ways to extend it a little bit at that time to get the work done. We feel that's in the best public interest. It would work along the lines that is currently in place, and it's not our intent to change our relationship with our franchisees. Additionally, Councilmember Johnson, you had a great idea here for allowing homeowners to work on their housing stock to maintain and improve their own properties. And the intent is to keep their properties up after you work a long day. It would be nice to come on and have the chance to work on your property for a couple hours before the end of the day to keep. I'm sure the neighbors would appreciate it as well. And so that was one of the other key parts in here is extending the As you see, someone who owns a property, has a valid rental license, occupies the property, it has to be habitable, or their tenants have a chance to work on maintain their housing stock. And we negotiated quite a bit between Councilmember Palmisano's office and Councilmember Johnson's office to ensure that we're meeting the needs, but not over-imposing ourselves on the neighbors, upon the neighboring properties. And finally, one of the other exemptions that we saw a critical need for was working with our franchisee partners in maintaining essential services to the city. For example, a few weeks ago, there was an interruption in 911 service, and it occurred in the middle of the night. Technically, they needed to require a permit before getting the work done. Of course, it makes no sense. We're not going to wait for 911 and let 911 service be interrupted. So we have an exemption for emergency utility work to be performed, as long as they notify us the next day of the nature of the emergency and the location, so that we can answer questions of the public when it comes up. But we feel it's in the best interest to maintain vital public services rather than waiting 24 hours to get a permit for that in that case. Are there any questions of me, council members?
I don't see any questions. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Appreciate the report. So we will now open the public hearing, and there's one person signed up to speak, and that's Al Swintek from Centerpoint Energy. Good afternoon. Thanks for being here.
Committee Chair Gordon and council members, thank you for allowing me to speak today. My name is Al Swintek. I'm with Centerpoint Energy. Our headquarters are located at 505 Nicollet Mall, right on the corner of 5th and Nicollet. The reason I wanted to speak today is that when this ordinance came along, initially we were a little bit concerned, frankly, because we do emergency work. And when there was this 36-hour sort of advance notification, we were concerned that that might adversely impact our ability to complete work when we're working in the public right-of-way primarily. So, So I reached out to city staff and, in particular, Councilmember Johnson's policy aide, Suzanne Murphy, and then she connected us with Mr. Doughton here, and so we had these conversations. And I just feel compelled to tell you that we feel so much more comfortable now with the way that this is laid out as we talked through it. And worked through the conversations about emergency work and other utility work that may extend beyond normal working hours in the public right of way, where safety concerns are potentially present. We really feel much more comfortable about that now. So, and also visited with XL Energy. About the same issue, and I believe that that they feel the same way, that everybody's feeling quite comfortable with the way this is laid out. So I just wanted to express our appreciation and tell you that we are comfortable with the way this lays out right now. So thank you for that.
Thank you so very much.
You bet.
Appreciate that. Is there anyone who's here, in addition to Mr. Swintek, to speak on this issue? Seeing nobody else here and no one else has signed in, I will close the public hearing then, and call on Councilmember Johnson.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. I'd like to move this forward and speak to it.
Okay.
Thank you. I actually wanted to acknowledge that this was brought forward by constituent Bree, and the issues that she was running into was around being able to work on her home late at night. Well, not late at night, after work, ultimately. Basically, once you have a day job, if you're trying to do some outdoor work, in this case it was siding on the garage, if you don't get home until 5 or 6 o'clock, you really have no opportunity to work on this unless you were to go get a permit, and that was like over $100 a day. So it was really uneconomical for a lot of residents to do the work unless it was on the weekend. And if you have a project that's bigger than the weekend, then it's really becomes very difficult to actually pull it off. And so I really appreciate staff working with us on this. And I also want to recognize Councilmember Palmisano and her office because in their ward they happen to have a lot of new construction going on, and the concern was that if you extend the hours later into the day, then families aren't going to have any respite from the noise if they have some fly-by-night contractor just coming through, going as fast as they can to just build a house up. And I think we struck the right balance here where it's really about homeowners that are living there and their tenants making improvements to their houses and being able to have the time and the space in order to do the work. And so I think it's a solid improvement for residents, and I appreciate what it does as well for our operations in terms of our ability to manage the work and to get greater notice. So thank you very much, Jim, for your work on this, and for staff for all of their work on this, and I appreciate it.
Very good. Is there any other discussion on the motion? Seeing none, then all those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed, say no. That motion carries. The next item then is a consent item, and this is from the Health Department, accepting a grant from the Minnesota Department of Health in the amount of $1,296,549 over 5 years for our family home visiting services. Anybody want to pull this off consent? Seeing no discussion, then all those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed, say no. Abstentions, that motion carries. And now we'll move on to our third and final item, which is our discussion item having to do with the Senior Skyway Center. And this is it's accepting a donation for the Friends of the Skyway Center, but I think we also wanted to take this opportunity to discuss it a little bit more. And I believe we have our own health staff, Ms. Patty Bowler and Sarah Goodnow, both here to present to us. Good afternoon.
Great. Good afternoon, Mr. Chair and members of the committee. As Councilmember Gordon mentioned, my name is Patty Bowler. I'm with the Health Department. And the purpose of our discussion item today is to allow the Health Department to accept up to $90,000 from the Friends of the Skyway Senior Center, which is an organization that was founded in 2003 to support the Skyway Senior Center, which I think many of you have been to. And so I would like to turn it over to Sarah Goodnow in a minute to talk a little bit about the center and what goes on there and the need. But before I do that, I wanted to recognize a couple of Friends board members who are here with us today. So Pam Bilgen, who's in the back row, is the chair of the Friends of the Skyway Senior Center, and Ellen Wolfson is right here, and she has been a longtime center visitor and also serves on the Friends board. So, Sarah.
Thank you, Mr. Chair, council members. Give you a little background on the Skyway Senior Center. It opened in 2001 as an initiative of the city's Senior Advisory Committee. We're located on the Skyway level at 950 Nicollet Mall, which is the building where the Target retail store is located. We're on the back side on the Skyway level. We're open 9 to 3 Monday through Friday. The center has had a variety of sponsors since its inception, and it's not supported directly by city funding. We're grateful to our last sponsor, UCare, and Augustana also had come in as a partial sponsor as well. Our mission is to provide a safe, friendly gathering space for those who are 50 years and older, with an emphasis on health and wellness, connecting seniors to community resources, and reducing social isolation. We average over 18,000 visits per year, or about 74 visitors per day. Many of our seniors live downtown in apartments and condos, as well as temporary shelters and group residential housing. Some of our visitors are homeless as well. We draw from all over Minneapolis and some suburbs due to our central location with access to public transportation. The Downtown Improvement District and Downtown Library often refer seniors they encounter to our center. We offer programs such as exercise classes, health and wellness presentations, current events, movies, defensive driving. We have a book club and a computer tutor. Almost all of our classes are free, and there's no charge for membership. Many of our seniors have unstable housing and employment, and our computers are used throughout the day. A lot of people are doing job searches and apartment hunts as well. In addition to myself, we employ one part-time staff person, and a part-time senior aide who's paid by a federal job training program for seniors 55 and plus. We rely heavily on volunteers. Our annual budget is $186,000 per year. On Tuesday, May 31st, we'll be celebrating Older Americans Month from 11:30 to 1. It's one of our biggest parties of the year, and you're all invited to attend. I'll send you a save the date invitation tomorrow. Patty Bowler is now going to talk about the history of the funding and sponsorship of the Skyway Senior Center, as well as what our current efforts are.
Thank you.
Thank you, Sarah. So as Sarah mentioned, our most current sponsor was UCare, and UCare was unable to fund the center going forward after ending its 5-year sponsorship in 2015. And we've had a variety of sponsors. The reason we're bringing this agenda item forward is you heard our budget of $186,000 per year, and we'll have $90,000 to carry us probably through September. And then we're going to be at a crossroads in terms of keeping the center open. We feel that the center and our constituents feel that the center plays an important role for social connectedness and programming in the downtown community, and also attracts seniors from all over Minneapolis and the suburbs. So that's why we've been trying to seek additional sponsors to continue the work of the center. And I just wanted to give you the update that we've reached out to numerous sponsors. We potentially have one that's interested, but we're waiting to hear. In fact, we've been waiting since March to hear. We don't have any confirmations at this time. So with that, we wanted to end this discussion item, at least from a staff perspective, and see if there's any questions.
So I do have a question. In terms of the role that the city has played in this, are we the fiscal agent for the Skyway Center? Or are we just support? Yes, we are.
We are the fiscal agent, correct. Mm-hmm.
Okay. But their staff then is employed by the Skyway Center?
The staff is employed by the city of Minneapolis, by the health department, and we have one full-time staff, Sarah, who serves as the coordinator, and then a very part-time support staff person.
So they're employees of the city of Minneapolis?
Correct. Mm-hmm. Yes. We do have a senior aide who is employed through Eastside Neighborhood Services. And as Sarah mentioned, we have, well, maybe she didn't mention, but we have like 25 active volunteers as well.
And we have until September to develop some strategies and options for what's going to happen after that. What kind of team is in place to explore those options or look at other alternatives?
And Council Member Gordon, members of the committee, we've been exploring options for a long time now. And really, when we got the word from UCare last fall, we doubled down on our efforts. And so primarily it's been Sarah and myself and Gretchen. And then, you know, other folks like the Friends know about the predicament as well.
Have there been much involvement from the new advisory committee? And I forget the new name of the Minneapolis for a Lifetime Advisory Committee, a committee on people aging. Can you correct me with the name? You probably know what it is.
Well, I'm not sure what it is.
It used to be the Senior Citizen Advisory Committee.
I know what you mean. So Councilmember Gordon, Tina Kendrick, who is the staff person, has been involved in these discussions as well and has been helpful relaying grant opportunities for us. However, the timing of those opportunities don't necessarily line up with our timing. But I'm not exactly sure how much she's shared with the advisory committee, and maybe Sarah knows. Okay. But that's a great suggestion.
That we could maybe do some outreach there. I don't really know. I'm wondering if people are going to ask the cities to step in and try to finish the year out, or what are the options if we don't get a funder to come forward?
And Councilmember Gordon, that's another idea. I think we've talked about that a little bit, and that might make sense if there's a funder who's willing to come in and help, and maybe we need to do a little bridging in terms of our budget. But we don't have that magical sponsor out there.
So who oversees the Skyway Center? The health department?
Yes, correct.
Okay, so you're going to have to maybe come up with a recommendation to bring forward for us to figure out what we should do about it. It sounds like one of the options would also be saying we can no longer afford this and we have to discontinue it.
Correct, Councilmember Gordon, yes.
Okay, so and maybe we can explore other alternatives. Would the council then have to take a decision to discontinue that? Not necessarily?
Councilmember Gordon, I'm not sure. I don't know, Gretchen, if you've got ideas? Well, would the council need to take that action?
Yeah, I'm hoping that we're not the ones who'd be on the hook for closing it down. I know that it's valued very highly, and I'm not saying that's what I think we should do, but we're kind of at a crisis point here. So I just want to make that clear to everybody. We're able to get some funding, and I think this is from fundraising that's been going on for a while, and some funds have been accumulated, and now the Friends of the Skyway say we need to spend these so we can stay open at least till September while we keep looking. So I'm just, I guess I was curious if this is a council decision that we'd have to ultimately make, or does it rest in your hands?
Councilmember Gordon, I think that's an excellent question. Gretchen Musicant from the Health Department. I think we'll go back and we'll look at what the original charter was for opening the center to make sure that we know how to answer those questions should we come to that point.
All right. And let's say there's somebody who happens to be watching this late at night at home on their television, and they have a soft spot in their heart for making sure that we're serving seniors downtown, all these seniors, some 18,000 a year, I think you said. And some of them are homeless coming from the shelters. So it seems like there could be a good link even with the county or Homeless Connect or some kind of services there. If somebody was interested in helping financially, was there a way that they could do that?
Sure. Councilmember Gordon, yes, there's a couple ways. Probably the best way is to make a contribution to the Friends of the Skyway Senior Center and calling Sarah calling Sarah or me, we'd be able to put them in touch with that organization. So they could also make a contribution to the city, but that's harder to do. So I think the Friends is a really good vehicle. However, if there's that magical sponsor out there who wants to make a connection on behalf of seniors for the senior center, please call the health department.
All right. Are there any other questions or comments or ideas, committee members? Okay. Well, thanks for this report and this update. Yes, Councilmember Fry? Comments now? Yeah.
Just briefly, I wanted to thank all of you for the work you're doing. I know the Senior Center has added so much to downtown, and I know it's a sort of a clubhouse for seniors over there by Target, and so it's greatly appreciated. And thank you, Ellen.
Thanks.
All right. Councilmember Bender.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. I think as staff puts together a recommendation for this particular instance in this sort of very short term, it might be worthwhile kind of thinking to next year. I know in the last budget, we had several different items that were related to senior support throughout the city, and they're sort of handled one off. And maybe it's worth us looking at our whole sort of menu of services that we're providing to seniors in the city and understanding where are the best locations for those and what the city can and can't support, just so we kind of get ourselves into more of a longer planning cycle than these kind of shorter term.
I think that's an excellent idea too. I think this is something that got started some time ago, but it just in the last 3 or 4 years, we've developed kind of a strategic plan for supporting aging in Minneapolis, and seeing how this fits into that would be very important. Appreciate that. Okay.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Thank you very much. Then there is a motion for this, and that's passing a resolution accepting the donation from the Friends of the Skyway Center to support operating expenses at the Skyway Center in the amount of $90,000. On that motion, all those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? All right, that motion carries. And then I'll just note again that we're postponing. I don't think we have to vote on a postponement of this because we just announced it last time that we'd bring back the blueprint for equitable engagement today. We realized we could use another cycle to make sure everybody gets briefed accordingly, and we'll be bringing that back at our next meeting, which I believe is on the 16th of May. So with that, we're all adjourned. Thank you very much for being here.